Welcome back, students. Here we are for Light and Shadow Part 4. We're going to draw our cylinder shape today. Just setting up the line drawing first, and that's going to take a bit. And then after that, we'll get to talking about shading. Mostly, the main thing to think about here is the angles and kind of getting those different planes set up. Take your time. Maybe a ruler helps. For the shape, it is a little bit complicated. It's still better, I think, to kind of think about it like a regular cylinder that is rounded, and then maybe start to kind of divide that out afterwards. I did have some trick drawing the different edges of these shapes because each side's eight-sided. It's like an octagon turned on its side and extruded in a certain area. So take your time, set that up, and then go ahead and add your light and shadow to it. So here we are kind of finishing up the drawing, turning the drawing to the side. Find an angle that works for you. Um, I could have left it up and down the same way, but the fact that I was sitting down, I just didn't have a comfortable angle for drawing those lines. So I go ahead and turn the page so I get a better angle. Block out the shadow here. And then I think we're going to switch over, erase some of those dirtier marks there, and start adding some shading to our cylinder shape. As I look at it now, the back edge does look a little bit flared out, but it's not too far off. So when I start to shade, usually I'm having a very light touch at the beginning. I'm going to go across that plane. I'm shading in the same direction that the angle is. Notice how I turned it to a more flat angle now that I'm drawing on the flat edge. So the top plane definitely receives the most light. So I'm going to build that up by going mostly with the plane. Here I'm going along that whole plane just because it needs a little extra pressure and a little more weight. So a little more pressure. I've choked up on my pencil, pushing a little harder, and now I'll build up that secondary plane. In a minute, we'll kind of switch from shading with our white charcoal to shading with a black charcoal. So I just have a General's white charcoal pencil here, and for the drawing, I have a black charcoal medium pencil. The hard pencils, they do give a nice line, but I feel like they're just a little bit too stiff. There's a little bit too much binder inside the pencil, and so I find them to be very scratchy. So that's why I always go with medium over the hard, The soft, I do feel like, comes off the pencil a little bit too quickly and a little bit too easily. So I just feel like I have the most control with the medium. And with the medium, I feel like I can do all of the shading. I can do the darks, I can do the light areas, and I have that control. So the planes, as we start to move into the shadow, I think because you have the brightest lights near the back edge of this cylinder shape, you're getting the darkest kind of core shadow in that back zone. And then as you move towards the front, this plane is picking up the shadow as it starts to reflect the shadow that's on the ground. So we're kind of having to think about a lot of reflected light in this because the light source is coming from the back edge versus the images that we used for the first two objects, our apple and our box. This guy's going to just add a little bit to the shadow on the ground. I didn't have enough time to finish all of this in one sitting, so I'll be going back to finish this in the end. But kind of bringing up that darker shadow, the occlusion underneath where shadow reflects shadow. And this is about as far as this one got. I think you'll be able to take yours to the end. See you next time.